In this quick and simple tutorial, I'm going to show you how to master shifting up and down gears on a dirt bike riding off-road, because when I've taught new riders, they sometimes struggle with shifting at the right time, shifting smoothly. I'm just going to show the proper techniques and how you can master it. So most manual clutch dirt bikes, first gear is down, second through fifth or sixth or whatever it is up. And then neutral is in between first gear. And a way that you can tell that you're in neutral is if you can roll the bike forward or back at least 6 inches. So if it was in gear, I'll put it down into first, the rear wheel locks up. And then to find neutral, which is essentially half a click up or halfway up to second, then you can roll it and we're back in neutral. So once you learn how to get going in first gear, the key is putting all of the steps together for shifting. So what you need to do is let off the throttle when you're ready to shift and pull in the clutch and then shift the gear up. So we're going to accelerate, let off the throttle, pull in the clutch, shift it up, let the clutch back out, and then get back on the throttle. Now the problem there was it took way too long, and that's what most people end up doing when they're just starting out, and that's totally fine. You're going to try shifting, you're going to slow back down, and then once you get up to the higher gear, the engine's going to start chugging again. And if the engine is chugging, that means that you're in too high of a gear and you need to shift back down. And to shift back down, you simply let off the throttle, pull in the clutch, tap down just once, let the clutch back out, and get back on the throttle. So here's an example of what not to do. This would be taking too long. Second gear, third gear. So let's start back in first gear and accelerate and do a smoother shift. One thing you just got to realize is that it's not 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step. It's not 4 different steps, even though it's 4 different things. You got to realize that you got to turn it into one fluid motion. So instead of letting off the throttle and then pulling in the clutch and then shifting the gear and then letting the clutch back out, you're basically crossing over. So you're letting off the throttle, and as you're letting off the throttle, you're pulling in the clutch, and as you're pulling in the clutch, you're shifting up, and as you're shifting up, you're letting back out of the clutch, and then as you're letting the clutch back out, you're getting back on the gas. Let's say you're taking all 4 steps. This is the total duration of time that it takes, whereas if you're crossing over and blending them together, you're going to be shifting in that amount of time. So instead of click, click, it's click, click, click. So here's too slow. And then as you get faster at it, and faster, you'll be able to shift faster and faster. So we got first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And then as far as going back to being in the right gear, you want to listen and pay attention and feel what the engine is doing. So this is a moderate RPM, where if you're just staying in first gear, revving it really high and leaving it there, that's too high. You need to be in a higher gear. So shift up to second. Now you're at more of a moderate, about 3,000 to 5,000 RPM, where if you shift up again and then again, you can hear the engine kind of chugging. It feels really clunky. You're in too high of a gear. You need to shift back down. And then when you're shifting down, it's essentially the opposite. So you let off the throttle, pull in the clutch, shift it down, let out the clutch, get back on the throttle. And you have to match the gear with the speed that you're going. So with this bike, first gear is going to be like 0 to 8 miles an hour. Second gear will be like 8 to 15 miles an hour. Third gear will be 15 to 20 miles an hour. Those aren't exact, but that's just the general idea. So if you're trying to ride 30 miles an hour in second gear, you're gonna be revving out way too high. Or if you're trying to ride 5 to 10 miles an hour in fourth gear, it's going to be chugging way too low. So that's why you need to pay attention, listen to what the engine is telling you, and be in that right RPM, the mid-range. That's where it makes good power, and it's not going to be hard on the engine and transmission. Because if you're trying to accelerate really hard at a low RPM, that puts a lot more stress on the engine. And when you're downshifting, it's a common mistake to downshift too soon. You'll notice that the engine RPM goes really high, and you might start to feel the rear end get a little loose. That means that the rear wheel is trying to slow the speed of the bike down to match the RPM, and it's essentially locking up for a split second, and that means that you shifted down too early. So if you want to master this in an hour or less, getting comfortable with it, you need to just find a straight path like this where you can shift through second, third, fourth gear, whatever it is, at least 2 gears, and then shift back down, and keep doing that until you feel comfortable. So first, second, third, fourth, slow back down, third, second, first. You can come to a stop and practice your clutch control as well. I'm not using the throttle. And then shift, second, third, fourth, slow back down, clutch, third, second, first. You can come to a stop. If you know you're coming to a stop and you're in like fourth or fifth gear, you can just pull on the clutch, use the brakes, and then shift down while you're slowing down, or just shift down when you come to a stop. And as long as you can't shift down anymore, you're probably in first gear, and then you can keep going again. So you don't want to come to a stop and be in fourth gear and try going again, because you're going to slip the clutch a lot and you're probably going to stall it. If you're having trouble shifting with stiff motocross boots, just know that new boots are really stiff, and sometimes you have to wear them and use them for a couple hours to break them in. But what I like to do, going from standing on the pegs or putting my feet on the pegs, I like to put my toe down and underneath the shifter, and then pull up with my toes, and then slide it back out and put it back on the peg. And that works pretty well for sitting or standing. I'm Kelly Fager, and I help beginners and casual trail riders learn to ride with confidence faster so that they can have more fun and stay safe. And shifting is just one of the basics that I teach in my Dirt Biking Made Easy and my virtual dirt biker school, so that you can have more fun because you're riding comfortable and confident. The key is mastering the basics, using all of the proper techniques, and then building that muscle memory. You're forming positive riding habits, because if you're just trying to figure it out all on your own, you're going to end up doing what I did, is forming bad habits that cause you to have less control, less confidence, and it takes years to figure out all the proper techniques, if at all. And when you have someone that has been through all the common mistakes and has been able to fix them, that can essentially shortcut many years off of having to struggle with a lack of confidence because you're not comfortable with the basics, whether it's shifting or balance or traction or whatever it is. And if you want to go more in depth on the basics to master your confidence trail riding, you should grab my free basic techniques guide. You can grab that in the description below, or go to motocrosshideout.com/basic. I'm Kelly Fager from Motocross Hideout. Stay safe, have fun.